Let's talk about JJ McCarthy and the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings last year, in the regular season, they finished with a 14-3 record with Sam Darnold being the starting quarterback. And in the past, we've seen Kevin O'Connell do amazing work with Sam Darnold and the same with Kirk Cousins. Currently, the Minnesota Vikings have a 4-7 record, and JJ McCarthy has only played 6 games this season as a starter. He's only won 2 games as a starter up to this point in the NFL. And I'm not saying that JJ McCarthy is a bust this early on. Given the fact that he did miss all last season with a torn meniscus injury, he could not get reps last year. So the typical rookie season was thrown out the window. But at the same time, we've seen young quarterbacks in the NFL do more with less. When you have a quarterback like JJ McCarthy, who you drafted in the first round out of Michigan, he wasn't asked to go out there and carry his team on his back like Michael Penix Jr. at Washington, Caleb Williams at USC, Bo Nix at Oregon, Drake May at UNC. All of those quarterbacks every single week, every Saturday, at that point in time, they had big-time moments. Most were big-time moments every single week. And sure, they'll have some bad games here. It's football. But with JJ McCarthy, he came from a great system. They ran the football at a high clip with their offensive line. The best offensive line in college at that point in time. 2 very good running backs. They only asked JJ McCarthy to go out there and make big time plays when it was third and manageable. That was it. Occasionally on first down, let's throw a screen to Roman Wilson. But JJ McCarthy was surrounded by NFL talent. And he had a very good head coach in Coach Harbaugh. At the college level, a great head coach. They won a national championship. When you go back to that national championship game, JJ McCarthy did little to nothing in that matchup. He handed the football off. They dominated the line of scrimmage. Whenever a coach is hiding a quarterback that much, that should tell you something. Either they have a great run game and they don't need their quarterback to throw the football all over the place, or their quarterback isn't good enough to handle that workload at the college level. That's why it was always so interesting to me why so many scouts came out and executives, they loved JJ McCarthy in the first round. It just didn't make sense at that time, and it still doesn't make sense to me. This is a quarterback, he's not ready to play in the NFL. He is playing terribly, and that is on him. But at the same time as Kevin O'Connell, they have put him into a tough situation. It's a lot of talent on this roster, but he is late on his reads constantly. He's over and underthrowing a lot of wide receivers. He just can't read NFL defenses. And this time around, this previous offseason, he did get first team reps with Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson and Aaron Jones and this offensive line. When you compare the team from last year with Sam Darnold, it's a better team on paper. They have a better offensive line protection in the interior. Now, Sam Darnold is a veteran. He bounced around the NFL, got drafted by the Jets in the first round. They traded him to the Carolina Panthers. Leads the Panthers, becomes a backup with the 49ers. He gets to sit. He gets to listen. He gets to work with Kyle Shanahan and Clint Kubiak. Now he comes over to the Minnesota Vikings, has a career year. But that year with him sitting did wonders in his career. And he's still a very good quarterback in Seattle. Kirk Cousins, veteran quarterback when he came over to the Minnesota Vikings. JJ here, he's a blank surface. This is a quarterback that needs a lot of work. And when you look at the players on this roster, they are ready to win now. So the biggest difference with the Vikings team last year to this year, besides the quarterback play, you've put JJ McCarthy in a better situation than most young quarterbacks in the NFL. You fully invest in this offensive line. You have Christian at the left tackle position. He has missed time this season. I'm worried about him long term. But when he's fully healthy, he's a premier left tackle. You draft Donovan Jackson in the first round at the left guard position. You bring in Ryan Kelly at the center position. Very good center. Has dealt with concussions in his career. So he's missed a lot of time this year, but he played today against the Green Bay Packers. You have Will Fries at the right guard position and Brian O'Neill right tackle position. Now, this offensive line has been beat up this year, but in most of those games, JJ wasn't the starting quarterback. It was Carson Wentz. But you still made an effort to go out there and put talent around him with premier targets on the outside. You want to see improvements out of JJ McCarthy every single week. And generally, I'm just speaking for myself here. I'm not expecting for JJ to come out in his first year as a starter and be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. But damn, can you go out there and can you take care of the football? Can you get better with your accuracy? Can you hit Justin Jefferson when he's wide open? Can you hit Jordan Addison when he's wide open? And the same with TJ at the tight end position. He can't even do that consistently. Week 1 against the Bears was a terrible game for 3 quarters with JJ. But the 4th quarter, it saved him. He came up big time. He looked comfortable inside the pocket. He was early on reads. The anticipation was there. He made plays outside the pocket. And they won the game against the Bears. But let's be completely honest here. The Bears lost that game. Give the Minnesota Vikings a lot of credit for winning that matchup. But if Caleb Williams did not have the inaccurate throws in that matchup, they would have easily won that game. JJ gave them a touchdown. He was late on an out route. And that's a death sentence in the NFL. If you're late on an out route, 9 times out of 10, if it goes for an interception, they're going to take it to the house for a pick 6. But he showed up in the 4th quarter. Now, the next week against the Atlanta Falcons here, a very good defense at that time. Top passing defense. They could get to the quarterback. He got sacked and beat up a lot in this matchup. But every sack is not created equal. JJ was holding on to the football for a very long time, staring down wide receivers. When they would take away Justin Jefferson off that first read, he could not get his head turned around quickly enough. He was 11 of 21, 158 passing yards, 0 passing touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Got sacked 6 times. And he goes down with a high ankle sprain. He misses multiple weeks dealing with that injury. And you can make the case that J.J. McCarthy is injury prone. When he returns against the Lions, has a lot of time off. Carson Wentz was basically sacrificed to the Steelers, to the Chargers. They won the game against the Cleveland Browns, but Carson Wentz was getting banged up and beat up every single week. So in the offensive line, they can have more pieces up front. Here comes J.J. McCarthy. Now, I'm not going to come on here and say that Kevin O'Connell, he held him out because he knew that J.J. wasn't playing well at that time. But it is very interesting. When Carson Wentz was pushed out of bounds, J.J. jumped over him on that ankle sprain. Then the next week, he returns against the Lions. He still looked bad against the Lions early on in this game. But they won this matchup, and JJ had some okay moments. He was 14 of 25, 143 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. Once again, another interception in this game. But the Lions had a lot of miscues on the offensive end and the same on the defensive end. But I will not take anything away from JJ and Kevin O'Connell. They deserve that win. There's no such thing as a bad win in the NFL. But this is where you run into a problem here against the Baltimore Ravens. And I want to say this now. Kevin O'Connell, to me, is a very good head coach. He's one of my favorite head coaches in the NFL with the work that he's done with Kirk Cousins and the same with Sam Darnold. But when you go against the Baltimore Ravens, Gilman is a safety with the Ravens. He's going to play single high. Kyle Hamilton is closer to the line of scrimmage, across the middle of the field. You think that would make sense? We fully invested in this offensive line with those names I mentioned before. Let's lean on our run game with Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. They made a trade to bring in Jordan Mason. Let's split the carries. Let's go old school here with J.J. McCarthy. We have these weapons on the outside. But you know what? We're going to work off the run game, run in between the tackles, run behind the guard, run behind the left tackle. We're going to be fine here. Let's work off of play action and get the football to Justin Jefferson and the same with Jordan Addison and TJ underneath. Just keep the chains going. Kevin O'Connell thought it was a bright idea to have this quarterback who has been terrible with his accuracy this season to have 42 pass attempts in a game. He was 20 of 42, 248 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, 2 interceptions. Now, granted, the wide receivers did drop some passes in this game, but he was still late on reads. He was still overthrowing wide receivers. Justin Jefferson just gave up on 1 play. Now, I don't blame him, but you can't do that. And that play did go for an interception, but he still overthrew him at the end of the day. And that's the one thing that a lot of people were saying that JJ was amazing at the college level, was his accuracy. This is why you have to be careful with certain quarterbacks. This may be a Zach Wilson 2.0 situation. The same problems I have with Zach Wilson, I have with JJ McCarthy, not playing style wise. The media, they hype these quarterbacks up. They come out of nowhere. We were hearing about Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams coming out of college. Even Drake May. You go back a couple of years ago, we all heard about Trevor Lawrence at Clemson. Where the hell did Zach Wilson come from? The same with JJ McCarthy. I'm looking around. Where the hell did JJ McCarthy come from all of a sudden? You turn on your TV, the sleeper of the draft, JJ McCarthy. He rolls up the ranks out of nowhere. It's the problem that I have with the quarterback coverage in today's game. But against the Ravens, he was terrible. Against the Bears last week, he was even worse. 16 to 32, 150 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, 2 interceptions. And even though he did perform better late in the game, he gave them the go-ahead touchdown. The Vikings did not deserve to win this game. JJ was so putrid. If you go back and you watch this game, you guys know what I'm talking about here. It's more than just the box score. JJ could not hit anyone for the first 3 quarters, similar to what happened in week 1. And in today's game against the Packers, I want to just say pull the plug on the JJ McCarthy experiment and just move on to next season. He was so terrible in this game. He was 12 of 19, 87 passing yards. Let me say that again. 87 passing yards, 0 passing touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He has 10 interceptions in his first 6 games as a starter to 6 passing touchdowns. That is your supposed to be franchise quarterback of the future. Offensive line was banged up today. No Christian. But at the end of the day, you still have open wide receivers. This game got completely out of hand in the second half. The JJ McCarthy experiment has been a complete failure up to this point. And when you have a coach that is so hell-bent on just throwing the football across the field with this young quarterback, this is what you're going to run into every single week. This season is a wash for the Minnesota Vikings. You just hope that he gets better. As this season goes on, you hope that he can stay fully healthy. He can actually work on his mechanics in the offseason. He lusts off his back foot. He always drifts outside the pocket. He always runs backwards, constantly. When he deals with pressure, he doesn't want to get hit. The pocket awareness isn't there. The accuracy is terrible. He doesn't know how to command an offense. He doesn't know how to run the offense at this level. And it's a damn shame. You have Justin Jefferson, who is in the prime of his career, one of the best receivers in the game. You don't even hear about him that much this season. Now, TJ is not the same tight end that he once was before he tore his ACL. Still a very good player, but doesn't have the same impact. Jordan Addison, on most teams in this league, he's a number 1 wide receiver. You have 1A and 1B. Aaron Jones in the backfield. He's an older player as well. Jordan Mason's still a young player, but he's a running back. We know that the chef life isn't the best. A lot of these players last year, they were in the playoffs with Sam Darnold when they went 14-3. And they really used Sam Darnold as a scapegoat. He got sacked 9 times in that game. But not every sack was on him. The offensive line was putrid. His star left tackle was out. And you could have kept him around. And I know the argument, if you keep Sam Darnold around, you cannot bring in players like Will Fries, and the same with Ryan Kelly. But does it really matter if your head coach is not going to run the football and run his offense behind those key players? And you make some defensive acquisitions as well by bringing in Javon Hargrave, bringing in Isaiah Rodgers, having more money for other defensive players on this team as well. But it doesn't matter when the quarterback position is playing this terribly. I wish that JJ would take this major step and he would be this great quarterback out the gate, but that hasn't been the case. And if I'm being real here, I don't see him being a franchise quarterback long term for the Minnesota Vikings. You have some of the best weapons in the NFL. This is the best that it's going to get. They even made a trade to bring in Adam Thielen. This is when Jordan Addison was suspended to begin the season. And this is the thing with Adam Thielen trade. That's a bad trade looking back at it. The Carolina Panthers got mid to late round picks for an aging wide receiver who has done little to nothing with this team this season. And Adam Thielen was having a good run with the Carolina Panthers. Should have just left him alone. But they didn't know that going into this season with JJ McCarthy, they didn't know he'll be this bad. The biggest question is this: would they move on from the general manager? I don't see them moving on from Kevin O'Connell. But would they move on from the general manager? He's made a lot of good decisions through free agency, but not through the NFL draft. He's had a lot of bad drafts, especially the last 4. They haven't been huge hitters here. And when you look at this general manager and you look at the current state of the Minnesota Vikings, it is going to be very hard to justify to keep him around. And this is the thing with Kevin O'Connell. Will a brand new general manager be willing to work with you? I imagine that he would be. Kevin O'Connell is a very good offensive-minded coach. But you always have to bring up that question if you bring in a brand new general manager. General managers and head coaches, they're tied together. But when you spend a first-round pick on J.J. McCarthy and you spend a first-round pick on Dallas Turner, and both of those players, look at how bad they're performing right now. You have to make a huge decision here if you are the Minnesota Vikings and if you are ownership. And one more thing to bring up, Brian Flores, very good defensive mind. If he leaves this team, because he will be a head coach candidate this offseason, I'm worried about this defense as well. When you go back and you look at the defensive coordinator before they brought in Brian Flores, they had Coach Ed. That's the same defensive coordinator that had one of the worst defensive ratings in Vikings history as a defensive coach. And that's the same defensive coordinator that you walked into that playoff game with when you went against the New York Giants and Daniel Jones and Saquon had a day. And they did not have a number 1 or number 2 wide receiver. One of the worst defenses in Vikings history, and that's who Kevin O'Connell brought in. Brian Flores has been a great hire, but if he leaves and he becomes a head coach, I don't know what this defense is going to look like. They've built this entire defense around him and his philosophy. You blitz a lot, put a lot of pressure on the opposing quarterback, even though the blitzes have been able to hit home this season. But they still have some good moments. It's only so much your defense can do when your quarterback is having 2 turnovers a game, 3 turnovers a game. That bend but don't break sounds nice until your defense starts to break. And then you have games like how you had today against the Green Bay Packers. And I want to bring up this note. 1 touchdown is not on the defense here, and it's not on J.J. McCarthy. It's a bad special teams play. The player has to realize, I can't touch the football here. Because if I do, I have to go out there and have to retrieve the football. And if I don't, if the other team retrieves it, they get great field position. And that's what happened in this game against the Packers. Just overall, a bad game. And currently, this is one of the worst Minnesota Vikings teams that I've seen in a very long time. And they have problems outside of J.J. McCarthy. But he's the biggest reason. We've seen him have those big-time moments with Kirk Cousins and the same with Sam Darnold. But this kid, he needs to play better. And when you look at the future of the Minnesota Vikings, we've seen Kevin O'Connell in the past, like I mentioned, Sam Darnold, Kirk Cousins. The quarterback free agency class is terrible. You have Aaron Rodgers. He may retire after this season. There's a lot of reports coming out that if he does decide to come back, he'll go to the Steelers. He'll go back to the Steelers. Look at that situation. There was so many rumors and reports that were coming out about Aaron Rodgers wanting to join the Minnesota Vikings, and they brushed him off. Even him right now, he's older. He's a better option than J.J. McCarthy. Your top free agent quarterback's Justin Fields. That's not a good quarterback option to have. Russell Wilson. He should retire right now. He's not in a good spot with the New York Giants. He's their third string, technically. They put in Jameis Winston when Jackson Dart went down. Zach Wilson, he's a bust. He's terrible. The only quarterback that I could see coming in right now and having good success with this team would be Mac Jones. And I know Mac Jones looked terrible with the Patriots, but look at him this season with the proper coaching with Kyle Shanahan. This is the tricky part here. In order to bring in Mac Jones, he's not a free agent. You have to trade for him. But I think you need to bring in some quarterback competition over the offseason. Bring in Mac Jones. And let Kevin O'Connell work with him in this system. He's a better quarterback right now than J.J. McCarthy for the simple fact he's more accurate. He doesn't have the athleticism. But at this point in time, forget the athleticism. I'm just going to take the accuracy here. You need to have a quarterback that can throw the football consistently to your key players. And J.J. just can't. But let me know in the comment section below. Can J.J. turn things around with the Minnesota Vikings? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys to stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless. Peace.